I'm a little bit reluctant to call myself an artist. What you do as an artist is, completely determined by your creative trajectory. A lot of what I observe and experience, walking around, hiking, looking at the natural world, I want to make work that people use.
Hello, Aaron. It's a joy to be here for this work from Aaron.
I grew up in the area about an hour north of the California border, mountainous area, Cascade Mountain Range, very rural.
You studied philosophy
Right.
and then went to art school.
Yeah. I wouldn't call myself a philosopher by any stretch of the imagination, but I definitely became quite interested in philosophy when I was at the university, and I think that's influenced my trajectory as an artist or designer, insofar as I like to think about design issues or aesthetic questions from a lot of different angles and kind of analyze and think about different approaches to how to make something, how to design something, how to see something. That interest in analyzing perception, space, and building out form, I think is something that I have pursued in different ways, and one way is film. When I finished art school, I started making short films, very simple investigations into space, perception, movement, relationships between physical spaces and bodies, thinking about moving in relationship to the subject, exploring architectural spaces or natural spaces. I'm really interested in the natural world on many different levels, and some of that has to do with like biology, bone structure, cellular growth, like all of these kinds of structural elements of the natural world that have evolved in incredibly sophisticated and sometimes bizarre ways that give me a lot of inspiration. A lot of my work relies on kind of unconventional engineering. I never studied engineering. I don't use like mathematics actively in designing my work. But there are a lot of mathematical and engineering concepts that are relevant to my work. This is also a piece that evolves where there's just like two cylinders connected that twist.
The twist, yeah.
So there's like a 180-degree. This is sort of starting with a central axis and then kind of iterating that process around a system or a process that I've used many times in many different ways. Working with like functional art or collectible design. This is like the idea that something has a function and has a lifespan and has a use value outside of its just being a beautiful object. That's something that's important to me. I think it gives that sort of category. I feel like there are some designs, some objects that work the way they are, a different quality than a painting or a piece of sculpture, because it's something that people are going to take into their own domestic space, and they're going to decide how they want to use it. For me, the process of designing and crafting a piece is a little bit unpredictable, and it is a little bit organic. In some cases, there could be a fairly linear process where I have an idea, I do a sketch, start modeling it, or maybe make a, upscale model or something. And then I know from that model how I can fabricate the piece, and it comes out. With an object, it has different properties. It feels different, it occupies space different, it has a different relationship to the body. So in many cases, the pieces do change as I'm actually physically sculpting them. And sometimes it's also experimentation with the physics of the piece. I'm interested with a lot of objects in how much material I can remove. A lot of what I observe and experience, walking around, hiking, climbing, looking at the natural world, is quite inspirational to me. The last 2 years, I think I've been working on a body of work has to do with erosion. Erosion is something that you see everywhere. I mean, it's all around us. It's how a lot of landscapes form, a lot of mountain ranges form, or rock formations, rivers, valleys, how things are cut, landmass and rock. The idea of kind of like, the sculptural process that I use, which is, on the one hand, one of sort of like constructing form, using woodworking techniques, and then carving it away. I'm interested in lately in sort of capturing part of the, I would say, unpredictable and random aspects of that process of erosion, and introducing that into my work as a way to kind of destabilize this kind of like more rigid, disciplined, kind of mathematical approach that I've had in a lot of my work. I'm a little bit reluctant to call myself an artist, because I think what you do as an artist is completely determined by your creative trajectory, or should be. This sort of idea of walking into the studio with a blank canvas and like, oh, what am I gonna paint? Part of what's difficult about being an artist is this sort of like unlimited creative freedom that you have, and how to sort of navigate that and figure out what you want to do, and how to create your own creative trajectory. What I do is always in response to demands or to stimulus from outside.
Shaped by patient hands and the slow whisper of time, curves emerge like rivers carving earth, like erosion revealing form. In silence wood breathes, in stillness lines speak. Aaron's work invites us to pause, to notice, to feel the gentle conversation between space and matter. He reminds us that beauty often hides beneath the surface, waiting for us to listen, to uncover what was always there.